Forging your own path is tough as the child of an inaugural 1980 Queensland State of Origin player. But this die-hard Queenslander has gone on to play at state and international level for 17 years. Two-time QL Rep Player of the Year, two-time Rugby League World Cup winner, and two-time NRLW Premiership winner, and has pulled on the maroon jersey 16 times for her state. It's the one and only Steph Hancock. Hey Steph, thanks so much for joining me today.
Honestly, Petero, it is an absolute pleasure to be sitting in the car with one of Queensland's greats.
Oh, thank you. I'll pay you a bit later for saying that, but thank you. But no, it's actually great. And look, we are in familiar territory, being out these neck of the woods. And I would just want to ask you, being born in Killarney, being a country kid at heart, what are some of those memories of growing up out here?
Honestly, to grow up in Killarney, it's only a small town. The population was about 900 people. So to have your own backyard, which was just the green grass, and there's 3 beautiful waterfalls out in Killarney. Dad, we had a fair bit of property, so we just run amok. We used to get on the ride-on mower and take off down the paddock, and we just, I was very lucky I had the best childhood.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful little spot.
And so you're one of 3 kids, is that right?
That's correct. I have an older sister, Kristen. She's 41, already turned 41 this year. And then Josh, my little brother, he's 39 this year.
Excellent. And I guess I met Josh when he was playing footy, his Broncos days. He came out and we trained together for a little while there. So I could definitely tell he was a Hancock mate. He had a big solid build on him as well too, and just like Dad. And it's great to I guess have that bit of family history, with your brother at the club as well. And it's always great, that legacy piece, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. I couldn't be prouder of obviously Dad playing for Queensland, Australia, and then even Josh. He always used to talk you up as well. Well, probably not as much as Dad. But to have a father and a brother that were pretty good at footy, we all shared the same passion, obviously, and it was just a beautiful thing to always be around footy, and
unreal. And I guess thinking back to your childhood, getting into rugby league from a young age, what was that like? And I guess what did Mum and Dad think about you taking up, following in your dad's footsteps and taking up rugby league?
I know Mum definitely wasn't keen about it, but Dad just happened to be coaching the Killarney kids, because the only football clubs are in Warwick, which is about 30 k's south of Killarney. So we used to train on a Tuesday in Killarney. There's only about 6 or 7 of us kids, and then on a Thursday we used to drive into Warwick and play, train with the rest of the team. And then junior footy was always on a Saturday. We used to go travel to Stanthorpe, Tannerfield, Texas, Wattles and Clifton, Gundawindi. So Gundy's over a 500k round trip to play junior footy. And then I think the least amount of k's you'd travel would be 150k's, going out to Clifton.
That's your short trip.
That was the short trip. So we used to love, obviously, getting to the footy, playing, and then Dad would always let us buy some lollies and stuff for the trip home, but you'd run out of lollies in the first 10 minutes and still have another hour to drive. But that was definitely something I'll never forget. Obviously my first game for the mighty Eastern Suburbs Hornets.
Never forget your first game, eh?
Never forget it. Mum plaited my hair and I tucked it up and put headgear on, and it was purely because Mum didn't want the boys to pull my hair, which I don't think they would have, but that was the whole point of the braid and throwing the headgear on. And I think too, Mum was probably a little bit cautious about her little girl's looks, which unfortunately I missed out there, but put the headgear on. I ended up scoring 4 tries. I kicked 2 goals.
In your first game?
In my first game. And then Dad was on the sideline, obviously, and this bloke goes, Dad talks about this all the time, it gets really embarrassing, but he's like, this bloke come up and said, mark my words, that young bloke out there, he'll play rep footy one day. And then the old man turned around and said, mate, that's my daughter.
That's my daughter.
And then I took my headgear off, my plat fell out, and the boys, because some of the opposition boys didn't realise I was a girl. They're like, "Oh, yuck, she's a girl." So yeah, that was.
So you put it over in that first ever game, eh?
I'd done enough training with Dad and my little brother Josh.
Yeah.
We used to have an old tank outside. I had the pipe that ran across from the roof to the tank, and Dad would throw the ball up or kick it up, and we'd have to catch the bombs and then pass it back. So we were pretty skillful back then, because obviously we spent at least 2 hours every afternoon after school with the footy in our hands. So it'd be terrible if we weren't as skillful as what we were with the amount of time we spent.
And I guess from those from that first experience, did you know like rugby league was in your blood then? It was something that you just wanted to continue on with?
100%. Like watching all Dad's old, because on the VHS, on the tapes.
On the old tape, yeah.
Like watching Choppy close. I used to love watching Choppy's elbows. Like he was shocking. But like watching Mal and Wally and Fatty and like Kerry Boasted, he used to be the quickest bloke.
Oh, man.
But Artie Beetson, like he was one of my favourites, just with the Queensland country, the outback stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously that was Artie's legacy, and I'd spent a bit of time with him and Tommy Rodonigas. You get a bit emotional. I got goosebumps just talking about him. But I guess watching games even before I started playing junior footy, because we'd always go to the footy with Dad, especially back to Wattles, where Dad used to play. And then obviously Josh continued, whereas I had to give footy away. I used to go to all Josh's games and
cheering on.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as playing though, eh?
Oh, definitely not. But I fell in love with football straight away. Like that's all we grew up watching football, Dad's old games, going to the footy. It was just something that I loved right from the start.
From the start, yeah. Now, tell me this. You mentioned Mum, and obviously the influence of your dad's been amazing, but that support of Mum's been tremendous, hasn't it? Because, as you said, she wasn't a big supporter at the start of you playing rugby league, thinking of a little girl getting hurt, but the fact that she's been a massive supporter for you, been unreal, eh?
Yeah, Mum's... she'd probably have to fight my grandmother, my dad's mother, Millie, for the number one supporter spot. But honestly, my mum she's just one of the most beautiful people. I'm not just saying that because she's my mum, but she's been that supportive with everything in my life. And she's never forced me to do anything that I didn't want to do, but always gave me the best opportunity. Drove me everywhere. Dad obviously was working. Mum was a stay-at-home mum back earlier in the day, so she did absolutely everything for us three kids. And I'm just
what we do without our mums, eh?
I know, right?
So a big shout out to all the mums out there, especially our rugby league mums. We love you. Thanks for all your support, and it's so good to hear that, Steph. That your mum's always been there, had your back, and been a great supporter. And I guess with your rugby league journey, once you got to that age of 10, is that right? You had to obviously stop playing footy. That was the rules back then?
Yeah, so I was born in 82, so it would have been the early 90s. Girls weren't allowed to play footy. And I'm pretty sure I finished in under 9s, and I was allowed to sign up for under 10s because I was female. Which is fair enough, that's how it was back then.
But still, nonetheless, would have been gutted for you.
Oh, just what am I going to do now? Like netball, as much as now, if you watch it, it is a contact sport.
It is, that's right.
Me. But like netty and just that wasn't
not the same.
No, definitely not. But the beautiful thing is now you got girls that can play.
That's exactly it.
Right from junior footy, like under 8s, all the way through. So I just love that now is a thing.
So when obviously that you found out footy couldn't be your sport, what did you turn to?
Because I was such a competitive little I would play any sport. So in Killarney, there wasn't that many opportunities obviously to play team sport. But I did end up playing. I played netball, I was a swimmer, I played tennis, which I wish I would have stuck to. Not saying I could have beat Ash Barty, but I probably wouldn't have to be a full-time police officer if I was a tennis player. Yes, everything, athletics. So I really got into athletics at the start of high school. So I ended up taking up javelin when I turned 13, and I don't think I dropped a national title until the year I give it away, to be honest. So
that's an amazing achievement.
I was very proud of that, but geez, I worked my butt off.
Yeah.
I used to go down to the old school oval by myself with these bloody 4 javelins and just hoik around for hours with my old school PE teacher.
And so was the aspiration, like with the athletics, to go on to higher honours, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games? Was that
that was 100% my dream. I ended up going to World Juniors in the year 2000, which was such an awesome experience. It was in Chile. But yeah, it was an absolute experience that I'll never forget. But then sadly I did give javelin away. I moved back to Killarney, back home to mum and dad, because I was such a little
What was there a reason why did you just fall out of love with athletics, being a javelin athlete?
I used to get really homesick.
Yes.
If I had to get billeted out during a school sporting carnival, I used to cry until I made my mum and dad feel that bad that they would actually go and book accommodation and come with me. And I don't think, and I'm talking about high school too, Petero.
Right.
My poor mum, like I said to you earlier, I couldn't be without her. So mum and dad came everywhere. Like I had nationals in Hobart, they came. I had the Pacific Games in Perth, they came. Melbourne, we've been all over Australia, which has been pretty cool. But yeah, I just lost the love for it. And
I guess I would love to ask you about you give up javelin, you moved back home. Now tell me, actually, the way you got back into rugby league was a pretty good story too. You were playing for your hometown against Warwick Collegians, is that right?
Yeah.
And another great name in Queensland Australian Rugby League, Joe Barrett, was playing for Warwick, is that right?
That's correct.
And so from that game, is that what spurred you on to want to get back into rugby league?
Yeah, definitely. Our little town was suffering during the drought. So this is back in 2003. And I organised a game of footy with Joey. So I said, mate, I'll get some girls together, you get some girls together, and let's play a game of footy. We just thought we'd throw this game of footy on after the boys played. We ended up going and getting the hairdresser. There was a couple of ladies at the pub that loved to drink, and they loved to have a bit of fun, so I thought they'll fit right into the footy team. And that's when Dad's parent, my grandfather, owned the Killarney Abattoir. So there was a couple of real tough girls that worked there as well, so I went and signed them up. I dragged my sister into it, my 2 cousins. Eventually I came up with this footy team. Joey had enough cousins and mates that she managed to come up with one. So then we played this random game of footy in town. I think we raised about $10,000.
That's amazing.
It was it's probably the toughest game of footy I've ever played. Oh my goodness.
And nothing like the local girls get together for a game of footy, but I can tell you what, there would have been no love lost, eh?
Oh, it's like New South Wales and Queensland between Killarney and Warwick. So yeah, it's definitely competitive as and playing Joey, she always wants bragging rights over something. So I can't remember who actually won that, but it was just something that turned into that was my first game of footy as an adult.
So how did you take that next step from that fundraising game, then getting into your rugby league career?
Well, because we had so many people that just loved the fact that some women went and played a game of footy. It was someone's bright idea, and I'm not going to say it was Joey Barrett's, but I think one of the blokes from Warwick thought it might be a good idea to combine the Killarney and the Warwick girls and play the Toowoomba Phillies, which they were playing in the Brisbane competition. Honestly, they had, I think, 6 or 7 Australian representatives. So, but we played at night, and I tell you what, there was probably 10,000 people. It just absolutely, it was insane. We packed the whole place out. And we played under lights. I think it was the best night they've ever had at the bar there at the footy club, but it was just a great game of football. So
that was it.
The Toowoomba coach came over and said, mate, are you sure you don't want to keep playing footy? And said, I would love to keep playing footy, but I don't know how much Mum, because Mum was already saying, don't worry about going and playing this other. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to hurt yourself because you got work. And
That's it.
I was like, Mum, it's just a bit of fun. Dad's like, you're bloody doing it, mate. You just go and have fun, do what you love. So it all 2003, that kicked off my footy career. So.
Now, tell me this. So you've gone from that game, and is the story right? I hear that you actually went to a World Cup in that same year for Australia.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I played, I think, 3 or 4 games with the Toowoomba Phillies in the Brisbane competition, and ended up being selected in the Gillaroos side to go to the World Cup in New Zealand.
Could you believe that? Like, you've gone from playing for your hometown, in that charity match, and then you've gone from there. Next thing you know, you're pulling on the green and gold jumper for your country. I mean, that must have been just such an amazing and surreal feeling.
Yeah, I honestly never dreamt that would have even been possible. Yeah. But just being around some of those girls and seeing how passionate they were about playing rugby league, and like, I didn't even know that there was a Brisbane competition until we played the Phillies. So yeah, I couldn't believe A, that I was picked, and then B, the calibre of players that I was actually running out beside next to, and I'd never played obviously international football before, and then coming up against those Kiwi girls, like, I was actually scared.
Yeah, right.
But then being beside like the likes of Tani Norris and Kelly Batchelor and Paddy Fraser, like, I'm talking about some real tough, they could play football, these girls are hits.
That gave them the confidence to be
able to I just thought, if they got my back, I'm going to have their back. And I think they all talk about Dad's first test against the Kiwis. Yeah. He actually got big Kevin Tumity hit him with an elbow. Yeah. I think it's one of the top 10 hits on YouTube. Jeez. The old man runs into his elbow. Dad just goes flat on his back, and his head bounces on the grass, and he is out cold. Like, it just wipes him. Whereas my first game against the Kiwis, I actually, Dylan Napa styles the other night, I hit, and it just, pretty much coat hanging this poor girl.
Oh, wow.
I got sent to the bin for 10. Yeah. So
That's your start of international.
Yeah, I fully remember mine because I watched it from the sideline for 10 minutes in the sin bin, whereas the old man, he has no recollection.
So there was a bit of Hancock revenge there, just for Dad's sake, and you talk about Dad, and I wanted to get to that because obviously, your Dad's created his own bit of legacy and origin history for the Mighty Maroons, and I think your Dad debuted around 1979, 78, 79, and then he was fortunate enough to feature in that first 1980 State of Origin match alongside all the greats, especially Artie Beats and who you spoke about before. I mean, that must have been just such an amazing moment for the family to be able to look back on that history that your dad sort of created. Must be something that you wear with pride. And do you have anything from your dad's footy career still? Do you have any mementos or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. So I was born in 1982, so I have Dad's actual playing jersey from 1982. I could sit there and listen to Dad talk about all of his rugby league, right? Like, it's just, But to be the first father and daughter to play State of Origin is definitely something we're both very proud of.
Yeah. What was that like, seeing Dad watch you in your first ever State of Origin, pulling on that maroon jersey? It must have been an amazing moment.
It was. It was definitely just an experience, because obviously, like, Dad telling me about running out onto Link Park, and obviously the women's game wasn't anywhere as big as the men's. If you asked one of the players back then if they minded if there was 3 people in the crowd or a packed house, it wouldn't have mattered. It was all about this jersey. And I guess for the Queensland team, like, we won 17 years in a row, never dropped a game since 1999. We have this one player. Her name's Tracy Thompson. Nickname's Tracker.
Yes.
I always wished that I was on the same club team as her, but to pull on a Queensland jersey with that woman, she's like the Greg Inglis of the women's game.
Absolute legend. It's awesome. Now, to be around players like that, what was that like for you as a young player, getting to play alongside someone like Karen Murphy?
Yeah, I don't think I could do it justice with words. Just as soon as I remember putting on a Queensland jumper, the words, just how much she inspired anybody in that jumper. They all talk about King Wally. Well, she's definitely Queen Karen.
Yeah.
If this was her thing, before you run out to play, we're in our little huddle, and she would say, listen, you aren't coming up. No one comes off this field unless you're dead.
Yes.
She just, and obviously playing for Australia should be the pinnacle, and it means, but there's just something about a Queensland jersey and that team, and just the way we come together, the Queensland way. And I'm not just talking about on the field either. She used to make me look good on the field, because she would, seriously, her footy brain is amazing. She would just put me through a hole, and just her whole knowledge of the game. But just off the field, she just, there's just something so special about that woman. And I'm just so grateful that it was my playing era that I actually got to run outside this. She was my half. I played on the right, Karen played on the right. Like I said, it's hard for me to talk about her. Yeah, she's one of my best mates, and just a beautiful person.
Having your mum and dad there watching that first game, just tell me about those sorts of emotions and the feelings that you had having them there to watch you play your first Maroons game.
Yeah, well, obviously listening to Dad tell me about his first time. For me to run out my first Queensland jersey, because I was so passionate about Queensland and State of Origin, it was definitely something I would treasure forever. I'll never forget. And it was just so special to have the two people that had done absolutely everything for me to live out my dream. Yeah, it's something I'll just cherish forever.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, so you've retired from rep footy. You're going to be playing for the Titans this year in the NRLW. Am I sensing maybe like an Alfie-like comeback here for the mighty Queenslanders? Is that something that's on your cards?
To be honest, I've retired from Queensland, from Origin 5 times, I think. And then to win that last game in 2020, at home in Queensland, the sunny coast, I scored a meat pie. And I'm pretty sure, I know you played 33 Origins. I'm pretty sure you scored one.
Steph, you know me well, that's it.
Yep.
One. Yeah.
So to score that try, because it's such a massive deal for a front row, obviously, to score a 4-pointer, and to do it in my last game. And I know I fell over the line from dummy half, but it's beside the point. I scored a try.
You got over the line. I think I'm pretty much that's how I scored mine too, so nothing wrong with that.
To finish my career and having Murph and Joey Barrett and Natty Dwyer as a part of the coaching staff. And I absolutely just love Jason Hetherington. Yeah. I could spend every day with him just talking football, having a rum. Obviously, he's a bit of a larrikin, but
he's a great larrikin.
To have those people around, and then my teammates, and win that last one just meant so much to me. So I thought that was probably the perfect time to put an end on my Origin career. But I told Tani, mate, if no one's performing and you need a front rower for 2022,
get you there.
Mate, I will definitely. You can call me Alfie Langer, and they can call me Johnny Farnham, because that's all I get, more comebacks than Johnny Farnham. I would definitely 100% wear a Queensland jersey if they needed me to.
That would be
trust
awesome,
me.
And I reckon for all Maroon supporters, all the Queensland supporters, we'd love to see you out there again doing it again. But obviously you're a proud Queensland police officer, been for a few years, since 2007, is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I went through the academy at Oxley there in 2007.